And I want to just implore you with one thing today. One thing. Before you say, write, video, or share something, make sure the outcome or the message involved in those media, is what you want, not what you don't. And right now, who wants prosperity? Right? Doesn't look like it, but we can't keep singing about what we have and have anything other than what we have. Hello friends, Tiger Todd here, founder of Hero School, and I thought I would do a series of videos that perhaps imparted truths as I learned during the last time we went through something. Now, as you know, no one gets a pass from this pandemic, and I'm sorry if you're struggling in health or loss of a job or lost business. Stores being shuttered, people not allowed to do what they do, and I know it affects us at a deeper level than just the income and the time. I would say that there are some at least answers in how we respond to these things. And so the first video I want to do today, since it was Monday and it's in Las Vegas and it was raining, I was thinking about a trilogy of meaning. Now, pause for a moment, because it is also one of those times, a rare time in this country where we'll ever be confined to our homes. I got to go through my garage and I found cases of laser discs. All right, who knows what those are? Yeah, you old enough? If you're not old enough, a laser disc, like this one, True Lies. A laser disc was just past the era of VHSs, and before DVDs, we had these magical discs. Two sides, looks like this movie took 4 discs. Wow, long movie. In the movies, however, that we were looking for these True Lies, there are some great lines and some great wisdom from some of these laser discs. Let me give you one right now, as we're dealing with these circumstances. People have different beliefs. People have different values. Some people are small business owners. Some people are employees. Some people are working still in the front lines as doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, volunteers for agencies that are feeding people that can't even get their food. Right, so we have all these people in the front lines. We have to understand, it is the circle of life, Simba. And then we get their question back, but Daddy, don't we eat the antelope? Yes, any other day, Simba, we do. Yummy. But we're all connected through the great circle of life, right? And so it's a circle of life. It's not us against them. It's not stay at home, I'm calling the police, or it's not I gotta work to do something else. No, it's like, let's respect everyone's philosophies. It's a circle of life. Let's let the people who are sick stay home. Let's everyone else use their best judgment not to cause harm to anyone else. Now, I love these films. I love these films. So I'm the author of Hero School, but I also created the math formula for character change that became the framework for the first series of origin stories from Marvel Pictures. And we talk about this with one line, that the character must change. And so I want to give you a quote from Viktor Frankl, and then I want to talk through 2 songs and then a principle that came from Dr. Viktor Frankl from his book Man's Search for Meaning, and it was amplified in his book Man's Search for Ultimate Meaning. And that is this. Frankl started by saying, when you can no longer change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. All right, think about that. How much can we change, right? If it's an edict from the governor or the president, if it's an edict from your mayor or your city council members, right? What they say in their city has, unfortunately, governing authority over everyone's freedom. Now, it could be a good thing. Most likely it's a good thing. May also, rough up your inner values. It might be something like Nietzsche wrote in his discourse Übermensch, right? He said the man in an era of dissolution, he says, the war which in oneself usually comes to the outside. It's a force that we want to take our fight to the outside. In this case, let's just see if there's another way to look at the things that get us. And today in Las Vegas was a good day for this. Happened to be a rainy day. And you say, what's next? A plague of locusts, right? Why can't we have a sunny day when we're at home? And I would say this, well, it all depends on what meaning you ascribe to rain. Now, one of my favorite songs, and I guess your favorite growing up, right? You get used to the song, and then later in life you learn the words, and you find out that, oh, this song sucks, right? So, but it's actually a beautiful song, but it's sad. And so let's start with this, the lyrics here. What is this? Rainy Days and Mondays by the Carpenters. All right, who's heard it? You know, if there's a place to post in the bottom, let me know if you have a favorite Carpenter song, or if you even know who the Carpenters are. But Karen Carpenter sang this song, her brother at the keyboard. And the lyrics go like this: talking to myself and feeling old. Sometimes I'd like to quit. Nothing ever seems to fit. Hanging around, nothing to do but frown. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. And gosh, you play that song while it's overcast and while it's raining, and you might have the tendency, locked up with reduced freedoms, to think that, yeah, it's a sad day. It's a sad day. And yet, there's a principle that I read from the prophet Isaiah. And he said, as the rain comes down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, King James Version, but watereth the earth, and makes it bring forth in bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes forth out my mouth. It shall not return void, for it shall accomplish that which I please, and prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. And it follows up, you shall go forth with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills shall break forth before you into singing. So the prophet Isaiah versus the Carpenters in the 1970s oil crisis. They had their own crises. The prophet Isaiah saw rain coming down as the watering of all that had been planted before, that eventually brought forth much fruit, multiplied. And I love the word in there, prosperity, especially at a time when, I don't know, if you have income, if I don't have income, right? Where are we going to get it if we can't go produce, right? And so we have to at least ascribe the meaning we want. And I think that's the key. I think the key is start with, what do you want? I think that's a movie, Joe Somebody, if you remember Tim Allen. And he has a little crisis, and he gets himself a mentor, which was Jim Belushi, who helped him overcome getting in a fight at work and got his confidence back and so forth. But in the midst of his, facing this reality, he asked himself, what do you want, Joe? Right? The question was asked, what do you want? And he had never thought about what he really wanted. And I want to just implore you with one thing today. One thing. Before you say, write, video, or share something, make sure the outcome or the message involved in those media, is what you want, not what you don't. And right now, who wants prosperity? Right? Doesn't look like it, but we can't keep singing about what we have and have anything other than what we have. So I'm going to implore you to focus on what you want. And I want that the seeds that I plant now, good seeds, right, are growing up to become people that are the first to be hired, right, that get some sort of relief. Let's say that's on rent and mortgages. Let's say their business isn't shuttered, right? But they get their just due back from the state or from whatever, maybe it's customers, and their business flourishes beyond what they could imagine, what they had before. That's what I want. And so that's the meaning I want to ascribe to things. Those are the songs I choose to sing right now. And I'm going to implore you to do the same thing. So back to Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl had something called, he coined a lot of phrases. Now, if you recall who Viktor Frankl was, and I remember I discovered Viktor Frankl around the year 2000 when I first read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I'm going to guess it was 1999. And it was also, it was a terrible time in relationships, things like that. And I found this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And probably about 70 pages in, I discovered, Viktor Frankl said this. So I drove right down to Borders Bookstore, tragically, another business that went out of business. And I bought Man's Search for Meaning. I eventually bought probably 20 of his books. But in this book, I learned this term from him called the existential vacuum. a vacuum of existence. And there was an example in there, and I think we're going to cover it in depth in another video. I have a series of 3 videos I want to do, little lessons I want to do, where I tell a story of coaching that I did shortly after I read this story about the book. And I found an antidote to a guy. His wife actually sent him to me. He was riding his Harley, and his eyes just black as night, not responding to his little infant daughter. He was a doctor about to lose his practice, and we found a way to recover. Just from understanding this philosophy enough to create an exercise to do, to hopefully snap him out of it and build up some strength against the forces trying to get him back into that dark cycle on the Harley. Okay, so no pun intended. So Frankl, in Man's Search for Meaning, defined the existential vacuum as this vacuum of existence when all of who you are, the meaning to your life, is defined from the outside. And he gave an example of, in this case, actually, the doctor who 60, 80 hours a week is defined by the nurses, the patients, everyone around, defining that role, that character, that persona of doctor. And then the vacuum is what happens when he or she is no longer at work. And there aren't these extrinsic forces, the external forces, the locus of control being on the outside, using some psychological terms. There aren't those forces, those words of affirmation, that support to let that person know who or she is. And so maybe he or she doesn't know how to be a parent. Maybe there is this void of existence. And so that needs to be filled from the outside. And if it's not, people start to look to fill it from other things on the outside. In this case, in one of my examples, it was gambling, and then it became drugs, and then there was no stop to the, we'll call them artificial fillers, the things that we fill our soul with, which are not the genuine article. And again, we'll cover that, what some of the genuine articles could be, in that other video. But I want to talk about this vacuum of existence, because right now we absolutely have many, many people on the front lines, and yet there are people that ran restaurants that they founded 25 years ago not able to run their restaurants. And so there's a void or a vacuum of existence. And I'm going to say to you right now, find a new way to deliver what you once delivered. Practice on new recipes while you have this time at home. Forget, pause the remote of the movie and the soundtrack that's playing, that's telling you what all these costs are and when these bills are due. Pause. One step at a time, focus on the now, and work on something that allows you to be better, your business to be better, you be able to reach the customers you really want when you're back in business. Even if that means you're somewhere else, you don't have to decide that destiny yet. You just have to decide to make more of yourself. Back to Frankl's first quote. When we can no longer change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. Yeah, okay. So find a way to undergo that process now without everybody looking, right? It's very hard to invent new recipes when everyone's watching you because, when we get older, there's a fear of making mistakes. Look, I want to deliver a message to you. And yeah, I'm kind of going by the memory of things I've learned, right? I don't want to just look awkward with notes, and that's going to take some practice, right? Okay, so allow yourself to practice while you're home alone or in front of your family or fan club, okay? All right, so finally, let's do this. Let's close out with a song that I actually remember singing in high school. We would tour the San Juan Islands. I grew up in Las Vegas, but I went to high school on Whidbey Island in Washington State. And at that time, that era when I was young, right? Last night when we were young, love was a sign. Anyway, I wasn't that old. But Barry Manilow just was, I don't know what it was. I went to the concert that he had at Seattle Center. I think it was 1976 or 1977, maybe 78, and then started practicing the songs. And one of the songs that came out is, hang on, I'll pull it. Ta-da! I Made It Through the Rain. So if you have the power to choose the meaning that you can ascribe to things like rain, can we not also ascribe new meaning to time off? Like, oh my God, I've got time to prepare and create new recipes if it's a restaurant. I've got time to go through my crates of Laserdiscs and think about the lessons and the influences those movies were in my life, and even get a little nostalgic over the time that you got to watch them. So the meaning I ascribe then is not, it's the end of the world, the sky is falling, and everyone's going to get sick if you breathe on me, right? That's got to just be temporary in your book. Temporary, right? We don't want this problem, this epidemic, this pandemic to go on any longer than the little critter that got into somebody and got spread, right? We want it to end when it ends, right? And I think what Viktor Frankl said is that's up to us. Yeah? All right. So back to Frankl, right? Where we can no longer change a situation. We're challenged to change ourselves. One of the ways to do that is to ascribe the meaning you want, what's everything you desire, right, to the external forces in your life. Okay? And I'm going to say this. What is it? I made it through the rain. We dreamers have our ways of facing rainy days, and somehow we survive. We keep the feelings warm, protect them from the storm until our time arrives. And then one day the sun appears, and we come shining through those lonely years. I made it through the rain. I kept my world protected. I made it through the rain. I kept my point of view. I made it through the rain and found myself respected by the others who got rained on too and made it through. So, Tiger Todd, Hero School, I want you to make it through. And I'm going to take my own advice here. I'm going to ascribe positive meaning, what I want, to the signs and signals around me. And I'm just going to keep doing to get better for the people that I model to, that I'm modeling my life to, that I'm serving in my business, that I'm serving through my volunteerism and my charity work, that I'm giving to through my philanthropy. Just going to take this time as bonus time to learn more, do more, be more once this time arrives. All right. Hope you have a wonderful day. Do the best you can. Send me a message or note wherever this is posted, and I'll see you on the other side.